Hi, I'm L.U, and you're listening to Shut Up and Chat with Millie Mandez.
Hi, and welcome back to Shut Up and Chat. Today we have Lucy, and Lucy is another colleague of mine, actually. We met at Access Creative. Lucy at the time was lecturing in some of the music business stuff, but largely was working teaching music production, which is something I have always failed at in my life and always found incredibly magical. It's one of those things that I hold in high regard. So Lucy is a DJ and producer, and also works to advise other people in an educational aspect as well. So I'm going to hand you straight over to Lucy, and Lucy's going to give you a lowdown on where she's come from in the music industry. Lucy, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you for having me. So I started off writing music when I was really young, so primary school, writing little songs. And slowly, sort of throughout high school, I taught myself how to produce music from home, just on GarageBand, just kind of messing around. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world to be able to record your ideas. When I found out that was a thing that I could do, I mean, I feel very lucky that I was kind of born into a generation that had access to that technology, really.
Sure,
But as soon as I found out that was a thing that was possible, I just became completely obsessed. And it really was like a lightning bolt kind of moment of, this is something that I would really love to just learn to do. And at the time, I looked up to people like Pharrell and Timbaland, the people that were in the charts that I knew were producing the songs as well.
Yeah, for sure, because they were both artists in their own right, and they were producing for so many other pop songs around the sort of 90s, early 2000s, and right up to sort of 2020. They were massive producers of dance music, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And the weird thing is at the time when I was thinking, oh, that's such a cool thing to do, I didn't really have thoughts about, but I'm a woman and I don't see women doing the same thing, although they were, Beyonce has been producing her own records for a long time. But yeah, I wasn't aware of that at the time, and it didn't come into my head as a thing of like, that's going to be an issue, or you're going to have a different experience because you're a woman. Sure. I think I was just that age where I hadn't come up against that, until I gave it a go. And really, it was really when I got to kind of sixth form age and then going to uni to study music production, where I started to see that the teachers were treating me slightly differently. And I was automatically assumed to not know as much as the guys in the room.
Wow, even by your lecturers. That's really interesting, that even some of your earliest experiences in education, you were immediately treated differently.
Exactly. Yeah. And I found that really frustrating. I remember kind of being put into groups with people that were like acoustic singer songwriters and that kind of being assumed to be the way that what I wanted to do. And that was very frustrating. So those became quite key moments. And I remember also being kind of irked by the fact that the teachers would often refer to a music producer using male pronouns a lot of the time.
Yeah.
When a producer does this, he, this. Yeah. And that I found like, and I guess, I mean, we'll talk more about obviously, being queer as well, but being a woman in a male dominated industry, you learn about the impact of inclusivity and how important it can be to, in that very small way, just by using a neutral pronoun, I would have felt much more, included in the class. So yeah,
and probably connected, right? Like, because when we see ourselves in any form of media or education, we feel much more connected to that subject matter or that situation or whatever, don't we? So to instantly be excluded within that conversation just by those pronouns must have been incredibly difficult and quite isolating, surely, as well as in the classroom.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, quite isolating. And I was always the only, if not like maybe one of two women in the class when, because I did I'm sort of jumping around timeline wise a little bit, but yeah, I did music tech at sixth form and I did music production at university. And yeah, I was always very much, minority in the classroom. So so you're already kind of feeling a little bit isolated, and then that kind of language can really not help. But thankfully, you know, the guys in my class that I was with, they were generally always, you know, quite accepting and actually you know, quite positive about having a woman on the course. And so I learned a huge amount, you know, despite those kind of like automatic feelings of like being set back slightly. I think that I learned at that point that I had to really lock in, and I really challenged myself to get a first at uni, because that, to me, that was like validating that I could really do the thing. You know, it was like, once this is on paper, no one can argue that I that I don't know what I'm doing. You know, so anyway, I got my music production degree, and then quickly learned that having a music production degree doesn't automatically mean you're in the music industry, or, you know, you have to then start forming your contacts and stuff like that. And so I did a bit of songwriting work with some people that I connected with in London, who'd heard some music that I'd put out. And that was an interesting experience. I think for a long time I thought that I wanted to write pop music for other artists, because I didn't see myself being the full-on kind of front-facing pop artist, but I really wanted to write pop kind of music. So then I did some songwriting for other artists, but again, I sort of learned that wasn't really for me either, because I was always still writing from a really genuine place. And the format of songwriting for pop artists is often a bunch of producers or songwriters will get together in a room, and by the end of that day they have to have written a pop hit. And that was completely alien to me, and actually felt completely disjointed from the songwriting process that I was used to, which was really quite kind of insular, literally sitting like I am today in my room and getting into a zone and really channeling from a pure expressive place.
And actually me listening to this now makes me feel like I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could sit in a room and just write a song for writing a song. I never have been able to do that. I tried doing the whole pop song, writing something happy, whatever. Unless I am deeply in the emotion of the song that I am writing, be that anger, politicism, whatever, I don't feel like my song at the end of it is a genuine song, because I can't connect to it in that very personal space. So it's interesting that you say that it's such a I guess a vitally different way of songwriting, because that's how so many hits have been written, right? I mean, Beyonce has hundreds of songwriters on her albums, and so does Rihanna, and, you know, all of these. Adele has, you know, while she wrote her first album, she had more songwriters on the second and third albums. So it's really interesting to hear you say that. It's fascinating to me still now, like the idea that, you know, well, I think that can play into why a lot of the commercial music we hear isn't sometimes the best music that we can hear. But it's not to say that it's not always great, because brilliant songs have been written in that way. And I think that it takes a particular skill, and I have a lot of respect for songwriters and producers who can work in those environments and produce great songs. Like, I mean, we listen to some of these pop songs and I'm totally emotively like engaged with them. The lyrics and the way that it's been written makes me feel. These songwriters can't have been particularly engaging with it if it's just like a pop factory, right? So my mind is blown by this idea. You know.
It is fascinating. But I mean, for me, I quickly learned it felt completely different to how I like to write music, and it just felt wrong. It felt like the wrong direction for me to go in, basically, which was kind of heartbreaking at the time, because for years I built that up as that's the idea of what I'm supposed to do in life, kind of thing. So since then I have, you know, realized that I'm going to need to kind of have a job and then do the music on the side and do it from a really pure place. And so I kind of sort of have fumbled my way through in that way. And then when lockdown came along, I was teaching at the college with you and DJing is something that I had always been interested in doing. My dad was a DJ when I was little, and he has the natural kind of skill of knowing what song people are going to need next. And I found that really interesting. And I always thought that would be something that I might enjoy. And then, lockdown came around and I had the time and space to give it a go. And I became totally, totally obsessed. And it just suddenly all kind of made sense. And thinking back as well, just before lockdown, maybe a year or so actually before, I had realized that I was queer. I had my first queer relationship as well. And, and in lockdown as well, I got into roller skating. So these things all sound disconnected, but they were all happening at the same time, right? And I was drawn particularly to disco DJ sets that I would watch during lockdown, right? And in particular, artists like Dimitri from Paris, who has releases on the Glitterbox record label, which is part of a larger Defected record label. So Glitterbox is the kind of disco offshoot sub-label to Defected.
Sure.
And they throw a lot of really amazing parties where they have drag queens, amazing dancers, and all of the disco fantastic stuff that you can imagine, and I was so enamored with these parties, especially being in lockdown, being isolated from people. And at the time, just before lockdown, I'd been enjoying going out to the bars around Norwich and the gay clubs and stuff. So I think I was really longing for that feeling of connection on the dance floor and disco music and freedom and connection, especially with other people in the queer community as well. So I think that all of those things kind of meshed together to create this sort of obsession with with disco and house and dance music. And obviously up to that point, I'd been producing a lot of mostly pop music, and I still absolutely love pop vocals and melodies and harmonies. And so that kind of took my music in a direction much towards the club environment.
Yeah.
So since then, I've kind of been refining my sound to work more for the dance floor. And that's been really fun. It's been really interesting because naturally as a DJ, you're listening for, when you're choosing songs to play within a set, usually they have a particular structure and format that work really well. So, a good mix-in point, a good kind of build up, some kind of drop kind of feeling, these kind of
like the arcs, right? So
yes,
that's actually, that's coming on to one of the questions that I have here, which is how do you approach storytelling in your DJ sets and your own productions? And it feels like you're talking about, in the same way that when we create set lists for a band, you're talking about the arcs of the emotion and the BPMs and the keys that you're using and all of that sort of thing. It's to take people on a journey, right? And that sounds like you're kind of telling me about that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So it was interesting coming to DJing as a producer because naturally you're kind of analyzing these different song formats and what works really well as part of a DJ set. So that's really influenced my music making since then. And so now I'm in a place where I'm releasing stuff that is much more geared towards the dance floor. And over the last year, it's been kind of a real breakthrough for me in getting support from Radio 1 with my music, which has been a massive kind of validating thing for me,
Sure.
And I've kind of built up, I suppose, a good relationship with the DJ who plays the dance show there, Jaguar. And she's been amazing with the work that she does to support people in dance music, and particularly minorities in dance music. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And this year I've been releasing music, and it's been feeling really good. Because before this year I was a little bit inconsistent with my releases, and I really took the time to work out what balance I need in my life in order for me to write consistently and release consistently. So it's been really nice this year to actually kind of have a good balance, and therefore a good kind of output of music. Yeah. that's the overall whistle stop journey of my life.
Which is amazing, but you know, there's so many facets to all of that, and there's so many like avenues that you could have gone down, that you now have the skill base for, and I love that so many parts of your life kind of came together in this all round, like you've basically created your own little world within your world, you know.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. And you kind of touched a little bit on being a queer woman as well. So I'd like to take you a bit further into that, if that's okay. Can you tell us how your identity as a queer woman shapes your music, the music that you create, and also the spaces that you create on the dance floors when you're being a DJ?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's something that matters a huge amount to me, and it's an undercurrent of everything that I do, really. But yeah, I would say that as I mentioned, I gravitate towards sounds and styles of music that feel liberating, and I often kind of inject liberating and inspiring kind of words into the DJ sets that I play. Whether it's quotes from inspiring speeches, or just words and phrases that would encourage someone to feel liberated. That I really care about, kind of putting those messages into my DJ sets themselves.
You're a sneaky political person. Did you realize?
I am.
I love that. I love it.
Actually, kind of less sneakily, recently, I had a DJ set at Gonzo's all night long, which was called Sonic Sister, and yeah, I could talk a little bit about that, actually. So Sonic Sister is the name of my upcoming EP, and it's the first song on that release, and it really kind of encapsulates quite a lot of the kind of messages that I love to put across. And so this whole night called Sonic Sister, I played releases that will be on the EP, upcoming unreleased stuff, and throughout the whole night it was all about celebrating women, non-binary and trans artists. So the whole night, it took quite a bit of research, but it was amazing to do that research, because now I know about so many more artists that I didn't know about. But yeah, the whole night was all either music produced by or featuring women or non-binary or trans artists. So yeah, it was really amazing to do, and it felt great. And yeah, it felt like a real celebration. But yeah, so within that night as well, what I was getting to was I have a trans flag that I brought out in the middle of it, and I while we were playing these songs that have these uplifting messages, I did that, and it was really lovely. It really wonderful to then look out to the crowd, see trans friends in the crowd as well, and that was just a wonderful moment to do. So I think I'm getting a bit louder about that, particularly with what we see happening for trans people at the moment in this country. So I think it's more important than ever that I'm very loud and clear about where I stand on things, and how trans people are fully accepted, appreciated on the dance floor, for my sets. So there's that. I'm really intentional about making the dance floor feel inclusive, safe, joyful. Joyful is probably the key word, really, with my DJ sets, is what I'm aiming for. I'm not aiming for cool. I often jump around like a maniac when I'm performing, and I love to interact as much as possible with people. I I understand the power of representation as well. So, you know, as I say, those experiences of, you know, being in university and not really feeling represented as a woman making electronic music or pop music and producing. So yeah, I understand how important it is for other people to see someone up there doing the thing, really. So so yeah, that awareness just kind of runs as an undercurrent through everything I do, I would say. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I mean, you know, I'm down for all of those messages and inclusivity, and it's just lovely to hear somebody else in a completely different sector, a completely different genre, doing something very similar and creating those really safe spaces. So guys, if you don't know Lou yet, it's L.U music on pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So please go find Lucy, go and listen to her music, subscribe to her channels, and get to one of her DJ sets. If you live in Norwich, Lucy is regularly at Gonzo's 2 Room DJing the night away. But also, I'm very excited about this. July 20th. Is it July 20th?
Yes, that's the
There is
one.
an afternoon DJ set on the rooftop.
Woo!
And as a grandma, this excites me a lot because it means I can go disco dancing
Woo!
and be in home by 11 p.m. with my tea and toast. So
Yeah.
saying.
Woo, thank you.
I will link it in. I will link it into this conversation. Go buy your tickets. It's only a £5. You have to go to that.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that one, actually. Yeah, I hope they do more of those early evening sets. I think it's such a so Gonzo's 2 Room just launched this series of afternoon, they're calling them like raver saver sessions, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, they've got a lineup of amazing artists all on Sundays throughout July and August, and yeah, £5, all tickets are a £5. There's a barbecue happening, and it's like 3 p.m. till 8 p.m. or something like that, I think. So,
and they're really vegan friendly as well at Gonzo's. So there'll probably be some vegan options. I'm going to chat now.
Absolutely.
Before I get too excited about food, though, so we've been talking about these inclusive spaces and everything, which I think is just so incredible to have in a world where we are battling again to make sure that inclusivity is happening. But what about just in general? Like, how do you think we can better support each other on the disco scene, the DJ producer scene, especially for like mental health, self-worth, creative blocks that people might be happening?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really important part of being in the creative industry. I think a key thing is feeling part of a community is really important. So I think finding your peers who you can kind of share experiences with is quite important. I'm really glad that I can talk to you, even though we are in different parts of the sector. Having connections with other creative people is important, because we all relate to so much of what we go through. And as soon as you start opening up to another creative person or someone in the arts about how you're feeling, that can create connection and, you know, a conversation that's really important. Sharing resources, I think, is important. So sharing opportunities and resources with your friends, and celebrating your peers' wins loudly. It's a weird space online that I find, because obviously I try and keep up with my social media as much as possible, as we all do, which can get difficult. That there's definitely a real kind of burnout that can happen with that as well. But what doesn't help is often, you know, there's a weird atmosphere when you post something, you know, that maybe your creative friends have seen it, or, you know, people, you know, but they won't engage. And so I definitely think if you see your friend posting about their art, engage. It means a huge amount, doesn't it? You know,
comment on it, tell them that they're doing a great thing, and make sure that they know that you still love them and that you're loving everything that they do. Because actually just the tiniest amount of engagement can boost that algorithm for somebody as well. It just does so much in terms of self-esteem, knowing you've still got your community, helping with those algorithms, because we're all striving to have, you know, the hundreds of thousands of followers and all the rest of it in order to sell our music or merch or tickets or whatever it is. And actually a key part of that is definitely your community. And I value you and Emma so much because, you know, just those like hours where we're rolling around on our roller skates and talking about all of these things is empowering in itself, right? And so you've got people that are part of your sector of the industry as well. You know, for me, other punk bands, other ska punk bands, whatever, engaging with my posts and me doing the same for them. And I'm sure it's the same for you, DJs, producers. Just having that tiny little bit of love, even just seeing that one like really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Exactly. It means a huge amount. It's free for us to do as well. But yeah, it's a funny old thing. But yeah, I think that makes a massive, massive difference, and people remember it. And yeah, and it makes a huge difference, like you say. Yeah. I also think normalizing rest and boundaries is really important. I've learned that more and more, I think, as I've gone throughout my 20s, and now I'm about to be 31. I think that has been really a really important lesson for me. I think we feel like we have to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour a lot of the time. I think throughout my 20s I felt like that. But yeah, I got myself into quite a bad place, like not last year, but end of year before. I was really burnt out, and people use that word a lot these days, but it's a real thing, and it's a serious thing, and luckily, I have a supportive partner who can see when I'm not in a good place, and he was really encouraging me to leave the job I was at the time. And he was like, you know what, just quit today, and I'll help you, we'll get by, kind of thing. I did obviously consider things, and I put a little bit of a plan in place, but it meant that I had to leave that job. I had to find out what I needed to take care of myself, and now I have a part-time job that basically pays the rent, makes sure that I don't have to worry about the bills and things like that, but it doesn't put too much stress on me. I have my Mondays off, which is why I can do this today. And it's very important, especially in a job like I'm in with my DJing, where they might be very late nights at the weekend, that I have space to recover. That needs to be acknowledged as something that's, very strenuous on the body and the emotion of it all as well. That build up of anxiety before a gig, and then the huge energy output that you give, sometimes for hours and hours on end. And then you need to acknowledge that that's something that you need to rest from and recover from. So,
and I think that's actually a key part of your community as well, isn't it? The question we've got here is, in a world obsessed with hustle, how do you reclaim rest as part of your artistic process? And actually setting boundaries and saying, I don't need to work full time in a normal quote unquote job. I can survive on X amount in order to have my space to not only rest, but recreate again, become creative again. It's vital. And actually, if we didn't start doing that, if artists didn't take some of that back, you'd never have new songs. Because it would be constantly touring, selling, shows, and my manager, thankfully, has been one of the people that has said, I need you to create more songs. Therefore, I need this year to have less shows, and working with my booking agent to make that happen.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
It's great that you've got people in your life that are also doing that for you and saying, do you know what? Who gives a crap about being rich? Actually about being rich creatively, right?
Absolutely.
So much more important.
Exactly. That's it. And if you're not taking care of you, then you can't do the thing that you're supposed to be doing, that you want to be doing. It's so important. It's not laziness. And I think that because all we see with other people posting, and I'm totally part of it as well. You're going to be posting your highlights, and look at all of the great things I'm doing.
Playing the game.
We have to play the game. But whenever I see an artist being really honest about, this is really hard, and it's a lot to expect of a person to do all of these things, that is really validating and really important. So I think being honest and whether it's on social media or in person, you know, like you say, it's those connections and being vulnerable and honest about where you're at and what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can continue, basically.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So we've talked a whole lot about your incredible journey and some of the struggles that you have had, not just as a producer and DJ and artist, but as a woman, as a queer person. If you look back to when you first started doing this, what would you say to little Lucy, just starting out trying to be a producer or DJ?
Gosh, yeah, there's a lot that I would say to her. I do kind of wish that I could go back and talk to her. But yeah, I would really say to trust my own instincts over trends or what somebody else is trying to tell you should be doing. Because no one really knows what they're doing. So you have to figure out what works for you or what feels right. So your instincts are really important, I'd say. It's hard when you're young, obviously. You've only got older people to listen to, haven't you? So
Sure.
it's really hard. But I've learned that often my instincts about things have been right. And actually I have a really good knowledge, natural kind of understanding of what's going to resonate with someone and what isn't, and often I think that's really true for a lot of creative or expressive artistic people. If we're really tuning into ourselves, then that's going to be the thing that works. So the authenticity of that is something that is much more important than trying to kind of follow a trend or it's the thing that's going to last, I would say. So trusting your instincts is one that has taken me a long time to kind of get better at, I think. Being able to say no is something that I have really struggled with and still struggle with. I actually have a song called Say No for that reason. So learning to say no, learning to really, like, if someone's asking you to do something, even if you really want to do it, if it sounds like an exciting thing to do, but you've got that pang of like, I know this is going to be too much for me to take on. Really listen to yourself with that, because you'll end up, it ends up becoming almost like a kind of self-harm thing, when you're actually coming to do the thing and you knew that in the back of your mind you either didn't really want to do it, or it doesn't really work for, or isn't really aligned with what you want to be doing. So it's really liberating when you listen to yourself and say no. And no matter if you ever get sort of pushback from that, then that's a kind of red flag for the person giving you pushback, I'd say. So that's been really good. And again, it's something that I kind of find myself talking to either my peers about or my partner to kind of sound out a little bit, feel out different things, work out whether I'm kind of trying to people please too much or whether it's something that I can kind of like work out and do. But yeah, protecting your hearing is another thing that I would really say to my younger self. I have I've got, like, unfortunately, a little bit of tinnitus, I think, from my DJ gigs, and I've been doing that I've been actually actively gigging for maybe 4 years, so post lockdown now, and so in that what feels like quite a short span of time, I've got this little bit of damage starting. So protecting your hearing is super.
So are you now wearing earplugs at every show?
Yes, every time.
If it's only the start of tinnitus, like it can actually go away. So if you're protecting yourself now, I wouldn't worry about it being permanent damage. You might have lost like the top 10K from your hearing, but yes, kids.
Yes.
Wear the earplugs. Yes. I not think they're cool.
Yeah. Wear the damn
earplugs.
Yeah.
Earplugs that look pretty subtle these days.
Yeah.
At most music stores that are just like little pins and you can barely see them.
Yeah.
Wear the goddamn earplugs.
Yeah, and there's I think it's still going. There's the musicians health scheme, I believe.
Yes.
That's what I
mean,
got mine through.
you have to be like a professional musician at that point, though, don't you?
Yes.
You have to be able to prove that you're working a certain amount of hours in the industry and all the rest of it. I have my lovely molded earplugs for that reason as well.
Yeah.
But certainly up to that point, there's easy ways of protecting your hearing, isn't
Yeah.
there? That are like
Absolutely.
really affordable, actually. Reusable earplugs. So please go and get earplugs, everybody.
Yes. Earplugs.
Absolutely vital.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm having a little look at my notes here to see if there's anything else. So protecting your hearing, saying no, trust your instincts, and also perfection and feeling ready. You know, it's kind of a myth, really, I'd say, and there's a beauty in that. You know, it's okay if you're not a finished, sparkling piece now.
I mean, no artist is ever going to feel like they are the finished product.
Exactly.
You know, I have never met an artist, be it musical, visual, photographic, any kind of media artist, that has said, yes, I've peaked. This is I finish here, guys. I'm now perfect, and this is me for the rest of my life. No one.
Exactly. And my grandpa had a good saying about that, actually. He was like, I hope I haven't written my best song yet, he used to say, you know, and I really liked that. And I thought, actually,
that's also visceral, though, isn't it? Because there's also that deep fear. God, I hope I haven't written my best song yet. Do you know what I mean? I have that fear. I 100% have that fear. What if I peaked on my first album and I'm never going to write a better song? Like,
but it's definitely, that's something we all kind of live with, isn't it? But I like to believe that, I think naturally life shapes us and that influences our music, doesn't it? And obviously also there's that could be a whole other conversation, but you know, feeling like when you're young you should be at your kind of peak, and that when you get older maybe somehow
you should be on the shelf collecting dust, because how dare you have fine lines around your eyes.
Exactly. So but I think musically I felt like I'm refining, and I love the music I'm writing now because of the perspective I have and the experience I have, and I think that will only become richer as I get older. So I know we've spoken a bit about that before, we've been skating, but that's how I feel now.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, you know, with that in mind, tell us something in your newest music. Like, what are you most proud of in terms of lyrics or sonically or emotionally? Like, give us your proudest at the moment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it changed. Well, you know, my favorite song of mine kind of changes day to day. I'm sure you're the same. It's fluctuated a lot, you know. But I'm particularly proud of the fact that with this new music, I have really written it from a true and honest space, and I haven't tried to follow a particular trend. I've just gone with what feels right for me. So I'm really proud of that. But also with my upcoming EP, Sonic Sister, the title track, Sonic Sister itself, I wrote that about a topic that I hadn't really properly expressed before in my music. I was thinking about how proud I feel of the other women and trans women that I see DJing and producing music around me. I'm lucky enough to play for the queer nights that they have at Gonzo's 2 Room called Pillow Princess. And through those nights, obviously, I've met other wonderful queer women who DJ, and being in the audience, just watching them perform and feeling really proud, a bit like a kind of sisterly feeling. And I was sort of thinking about that, and then also thinking about experiences I've had where mostly older cis white men have come up and made comments towards me that have been, you know, whether intentionally or not, kind of either derogatory or patronizing. Often I'll get things like, wow, it's amazing that you can do that. Like, it's like, well, I've got hands and a brain, and
I wish this wasn't a common theme on other interviews that I have had.
Really? Oh
God,
yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Just
but...
in totally different sectors of the industry. I interviewed Kat, our driver and merch person who also does tour managing, and she's had the exact same experience about driving a 9-seater van. Wow, you're a girl and you can handle that massive vehicle.
Wow. Yeah. It's, oh my God. And it's like, actually, it's maddening, isn't it? But it's weird because you look back and you're like, were they actually being serious, or were they trying to be
I genuinely
patronizing?
think it's a compliment.
I
genuinely think they think that we're really twee.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
You're a lady and you've tried to do something so extravagant for your gender. Well done.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna remove a part of your body in a minute.
Absolutely. I know. It's like, Christ. Yeah, anyway, so so I was thinking about those experiences I've had, as well as how proud I am, and how it's like sometimes I just want to scream from the rooftop, like, we are amazing at what we're doing. We are genuinely amazing at what we're doing, and we should be appreciated for what we're doing, not viewed through this lens of like, whoa, it's a pretty lady doing this thing. So it's like, Sonic Sister is all about that. And I was writing, I had this beat going. It was very 80s inspired, really punchy drums that make me feel like amped up, and punchy, powerful 80s synths and stuff, which I've always really loved. And I just had this going, and I started to literally just kind of almost rap or riff off these. And it doesn't have any singing in it, this song, actually.
Wow.
So it's my first only song that I've done that doesn't have any singing in it. And the sort of phrases that are repeated are, so it goes, so rock solid, we push the pedal on it, riding the rhythm like high tides, it's nothing honest, check your biases, don't try to deny the system, got to get rewired to really vibe with my Sonic sister. So like I said that out, like literally speaking it as I'm saying it now, and then I sort of sampled it, chopped it up, and made it a groovy kind of thing. So
very cool.
I feel really proud of that song because it came from such a raw place, and I actually, when I was writing it, I was thinking, is this really weird? Is anyone going to understand this? And I played it to my partner, and he was like, this is so cool. And I was like, oh, good. Thank God. But yeah, so I'm really proud of that song, and it's been received really well. Like, as I say, the Radio 1 support's been really good. Jaguar, who does the dance show there, said that she really relates to that whole undercurring, theme of it. And same with Jess, who does the main BBC introducing show on Radio 1 as well. So that's been really cool. It's really lovely to see that message resonating with people.
Sure, and it's a message that is obviously going to resonate with loads of people, especially non-cis male people, isn't it? We've all had one experience or another that is exactly that. And also rewiring our own brains to not have that toxic misogyny within ourselves.
Yes.
Because our entire life we've been brought up to be second class, right?
Yes.
Then it goes even further with people who are Black and Indigenous people of colour, and also then trans people and non-cis people. The way that society has been structured for centuries now means that all of us are having to rewire.
Yeah, absolutely.
To, address our own privilege, address our own toxic masculinity, to address our entire understanding of what it is to just be a decent human striving for equality for everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that track, to do that with a track is an incredible gift to a lot of people.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's what I wanted to kind of include about, naturally I was talking about, rewire your own mind and don't try to deny the system, is what I'm saying. Is like, we have to acknowledge that this is a thing that lives within all of us, and we have to just question it. And exactly. And it's a really interesting space to do that in the kind of dance world, with on a dance floor, because you're kind of having to physically change the way that you might think about those kind of biases that you have. Exactly. It's a really interesting thing that had been on my mind a lot around then. So I'm really proud of that tune.
I love that. I absolutely love that. What would you say to I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of young people that, you know, people who will be stepping out into their first understanding of the music industry, of technology, production, DJing. We know the anxiety that comes from putting our first foot in, right? So what would you say to somebody who's listening, who's really scared to release their first track or play their first gig, or get into this quite scary part of the industry?
I would say that you are allowed to have your day one. Everyone has started at day one, and you're not behind anyone. You're on your own journey, is what I would say. And, you know, it's allowed to not be perfect at the start. And as I said earlier, I think there's actually beauty in that, and acknowledging that as well. And there's a confidence that comes from saying, I know I'm probably not at my best yet, but I'm doing the thing, and I will only get better from doing the thing. I would say that someone out there needs your story as well. So being honest about your story, what you're going through and where you're at in your life, will resonate with other people. And it's important. It's just so important that that art is in the world and it comes from a true place. I'd also say that the fear means that you care about it as well. You know, that's often what I have to tell myself, is that, you know, it matters to you, it means something. That's where that fear is coming from, really.
Sure.
There will be failures. There'll be things that you view as failures, but actually, when you look back on those things, often they're teaching you something. So listening to the lesson under it. I've had gigs where I've come back home and I've cried my eyes out because it hasn't gone how I wanted it to go. And actually the lesson in that has been that that kind of gig that I did is not for me, or the way I played was actually trying to fit something that isn't true to my sound and myself. So I've really had to listen to that and now, you know, navigate away from it, you know. There will be those experiences, but you can get through them, and actually you'll become a stronger artist, and it will all kind of enrich what you do. So that's what I would say, is to go for it and learn as you go. And you're allowed that space to do that, and trust your instincts, as I said at the start as well. I think that's really important. Speak to other people, trust your instincts. Always be kind to other artists around you as well. That's really important.
Number one rule in the music industry: do not be a dick.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we see it all the time, don't we? Really, it's like, you know, whenever you're on a lineup with other people, you need to be showing up as, you know, a kind person, you know, being mindful of the other people around you, and that goes a huge way. It means a huge lot to people, and also people will remember it if you were a dick, like you say. Like, I've got really like key memories with particular people that I've come across in the industry that, you know, I'm going to tell other people if they you know, if they talk about working with that person again, I will warn them that, you know, they treat people this way, you know. So or
at the very least, you know, you have a shit list. We all have a shit list. If you didn't know, we all have a shit list. And at the very least, we won't work with those people again. No matter how much they would like to work with us, we will not work with those people again. And it could be a lot of reasons. It might be that they might have been fine to us, but we might have witnessed them being awful to somebody else. You know, true colors really do shine through, no matter how someone tries to show up, because true kindness is very, very obvious.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. Exactly. And yeah, people can see through it. Exactly. If you're not being genuine. Yeah. Another thing I'd say as well, like, you know, kind of talking about the being kind to others. It's a weird way to think about it, but you are naturally going to be networking as well. I don't really like that term, but any
You're
gig,
making friends, right? We're always making friends.
and it will form your network,
Yeah.
and it will be helpful to you, not only emotionally to have, you know, friends, people around you who you can kind of look to genuine sources of support, but yeah, also it will help you to see other artists around you and what they're doing, give you inspiration for, I don't know, ideas to post on TikTok and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and yeah, and
your
all of,
network is is other producers. It's people who are going to do mastering for your tracks. It's people who are going to promote you and put you on at shows, and it's people you're going to collaborate with and do extra songwriting or features with. And you know, I actually quite like the word network, because it feels to me like a community, like a web of people. We're all connected to each other, and we know each other and deeply respect each other. That's the kind of network you're looking for, right? And you're only going to get that from having deep respect for those people in return.
Yes, exactly. And sort of linking into that as well, since, I mean, more recently, since, you know, things have been kind of on a good trajectory for me, I'd say, naturally, gathering more kind of people that like what I do, which is really cool. But also I've noticed that, you know, a lot of kind of artists that are earlier on their journey than me, they might reach out to collab or something like that, but often I kind of get alarm bells when people are kind of reaching out because they kind of want something from me but haven't considered how that plays into my own kind of career and story. And so I do also think something to be aware of, even though I know how it feels to be the person who's like, oh, I just need to make something happen for myself. That person can help me. That person can do this for me. They should work with me. They should let me remix their track. Not having the entitlement of that, you know, like,
hard
that
agree.
makes sense, you know.
Yeah, hard agree. You know, also, do not go and message somebody asking for information that you could Google.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
sit
with yourself and go, can I research this myself?
Yeah.
Because actually it'll be more valuable to you if you have researched and put that work in yourself. Rather than thinking that that is the way to connect to somebody that's bigger than you, has a better audience, has been doing it longer, has the wealth of knowledge that you think that you want.
Yes.
That is not the way to make your first connection, people.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely, exactly. It's a tricky thing, because obviously it's good to be putting yourself out there, good to be reaching out to people, but not having that expectation of they will help me because they, you know, you know, I'm owed that somehow, because we're not, you know, we have to find our own way. And naturally, if collaborations come about, then that's great. But yeah, people don't owe you, you know, one-to-one music.
Nobody owes you shit, basically, and you have to be putting in the effort for yourself. And you know, while Lucy and I pay it forward a lot, we have been educators for a very long time, and I know that we're both very passionate about giving people a leg up in music industries because we've had that, right? But there's a difference between giving everything out that you have done for yourself to somebody, or being like, you know what, let's work through what we can do together where we both have time that is going to be appropriate.
Exactly.
And it is a difficult thing to strike balance on, and you may well make mistakes, but there is a way to do things. And there's a way to do things for yourself, and first and foremost you should be hungry for doing it for yourself. Definitely. Exactly.
And then reaching out. Absolutely. So Yeah, and it all goes back to being kind to others as well. You know,
Yeah.
if someone comes back and says no about something, you know, being cool and kind about that is really important, you know.
Because there will be reasons. There will be reasons that you can't even fathom.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, that saying, be kind, you don't know what someone else is going through. And that includes your peers, because so often peers are expected to do something for somebody else because they've got their platform or whatever. But you have no idea what's going on in their artistic life, their personal life, their touring life, or anything else. So if they're saying no, the likelihood is it's not because they're being a dick. It's that they have things that are going to be a barrier to them being able to put out something for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Lucy, I'd really like to finish on one more question with you. And you have kind of answered some of this, but I'd like to have it as a blatant question here. So the technological side we've already discussed is a massively man's world, at least on the surface of the idea that people have. When you say somebody, a producer, DJ, a guy is generally speaking the thing that people envisage. So what advice do you have for young women, non-cis male people who want to be producers, DJs and techs?
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, obviously I would really encourage you to get into it, basically, because we need more representation. We need to see, it needs to be much more normalized to see a woman, non-cis white man, you know, being an engineer. I would say also, you know, make sure that you have a good support system around you to help to uplift you and through the difficult, you know, experiences that you have. Don't be afraid to speak up if something happens and you're not happy with it. You don't have to work with people who are not nice to you, basically.
That is good advice.
Yes, you just don't have to. I know that it's easy, again, when you're early on in your career to kind of feel like you've got to take on every opportunity. But if something doesn't make you feel safe or makes you uncomfortable, you just don't have to put up with it, basically. Yeah, there will be a lot of people who really want to work with you because you're not a white cis man, straight man. So, you know, find those artists or collaborators that are going to align with your experiences as well, and that can create something so important and individual, I would say, as well. There's a lot of women that I've spoken to before or worked with who want to work with me because I'm a woman, as well as the work that I do, you know. So I think you're wanted, you're needed in the industry. So don't feel disheartened if you do have negative experiences, because it's all still a work in progress in getting people to, again, rewire their brains, you know. And some people are more behind than others with that, but it's still important that we pave this way and, you know, help to, again, also connect with others, uplift each other. Really important. But yeah, most of all, I'd say just bloody do it, because you can do it. You absolutely can. Don't doubt yourself, just because of your gender, your sexuality, you know. Yeah, you can do it. You should do it. You're needed in the industry.
You can be a trailblazer like Lucy.
Thank you.
Get in there, get stuck in. I love that. Lucy, thank you so much for spending so much time with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you and your journey.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It's been so nice to chat to you. Thanks, Millie.
Well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right.